In this video, I'm going to show you how to be the type of college student who earns A's consistently. My name is Clarissa. I am the CEO and founder of She Rocks at College, creator of Educated, the Art of Becoming a Good Student, the only online coaching program that teaches college students how to earn better grades and have more ease and free time in their life as they're going throughout the semester. And I really wanted to film this video because I swear, if you are able to just get this down, you will not have to struggle as much to be the type of student it is that you want to be in college, because it will just be a part of your identity, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So being someone who earns A's means that that is who you are. Okay? If you're the type of student who earns A's, it means that being an A student is who you are. Who we are, our self-identity or our self-concept is made up of our thoughts about ourselves, how we feel on a daily basis because our thoughts generate emotions, our habits and actions that we take every single day, so how we move through the world, the way that we show up day in and day out, and then the results that we have based off of those thoughts, those emotions, and those actions. The world will always reflect back to us in the physical realm results that align with who it is that we believe that we are. And this happens because of something called confirmation bias. So there is a system inside of your brain called the reticular activating system. It is a filter in your brain that we evolved with. It helps to keep us safe and alive. We have something like 80,000 thoughts per day or 800,000 thoughts per day or something crazy like that. We are bombarded with millions of bits of information on a consistent basis, day to day. And so our reticular activating system helps us to focus in. It's the focus center of the brain. It helps us to focus in on what is important or what is going to keep us safe and alive. And the way that filter, the way that the reticular activating system in our brain gets programmed is through our life experiences. It's through repetition of like what we heard growing up, repetition of experiences that we had, and it sort of stored that, and it would file it into, okay, when we do this, this keeps us safe and alive. When we think this way, this keeps us safe and alive. When we avoid this, it keeps us safe and alive. When we focus on this, it keeps us safe and alive, etc. Because of the fact that our brains are neuroplastic, meaning we have the ability to change, grow, and evolve our brain, we also have the ability to change the focus of that filter center in the brain. So when people talk about reprogramming the brain and rewiring the brain and learning new things and learning new habits, they're talking about all of these different centers in the brain and being able to direct where we want our focus and attention to be. One of those centers is the reticular activating system. Now, how you know that you're the type of student who can earn A's consistently is that you will be the type of student who earns A's consistently. What I mean by that is that your reality, the grades on Blackboard or Canvas, are reflecting back to you 90s and above. You will physically see manifested in your world A's. That's how you know you are being the type of student who earns A's, is that your results in your life will mirror that. If that is not happening to you, you're failing your classes, or you're getting B's, or you're getting A's and B's, but you're not getting A's consistently, it is because you do not believe that you are the type of person who earns A's consistently, right? You have to remember that whatever it is that you tell your brain is important, it's true, whatever beliefs it is that you have about yourself, your external world has to reflect it back to back to you because of that confirmation bias. Your reticular activating system is going to look for the evidence in your external world that matches the beliefs it is that you have about yourself. Okay, because we don't want your brain at war with itself. Because if you are at war with yourself, you're not able to focus on the things outside of you that you're going to need to protect yourself from or that are going to keep you safe and alive. And so the brain is always looking to be right. The brain is always looking for evidence in your external world to match the beliefs that it is that you already have about yourself. This is also called the law of assumption. It's one of those universal laws like the law of attraction, and Neville Goddard is the main person who teaches about the law of assumption, right? So it's whatever it is that you assume will happen, okay? Whatever it is that you tell your brain to expect, whatever it is that you do expect, whether it's things that are favorable to the life and the grades it is that you want while you're in college, or unfavorable to the life and the grades it is that you want in college, wherever you put your focus and attention is what you are going to create, because that's all you're going to be able to pay attention to because of the reticular activating system and that confirmation bias. You literally create your reality. Okay, everything that exists in this 3D world, this microphone, my water bottle, whoopsies, me as a human being, was first a thought in someone's mind. Okay. They created it first in their mind. They imagined what it would be like. They pictured building the microphone. My mom and dad pictured having a baby, right? And then they created that in their world. Okay, then it became manifest. It became reality. Now they had to take certain actions in order to make it manifest, but they moved through the world as though this microphone would one day be built. My mom and dad engaged in sexual activity as though they knew that one day they would be parents and that they would create a baby. They assumed that it would be true. And because they assumed that it would be true, all of their focus and attention was on the end result, that one day they would be parents, that one day this microphone would be sold in stores, right? That one day they would be raising a child. And so if you want to be the type of student who earns A's consistently, you have to assume that you will earn A's. Now, the reason why this matters, the reason why this is so important, this is what I tell my students all of the time, is a lot of you want to be better students. You want to earn A's and B's. You want to get on the dean's list. You want to procrastinate less. You have a desire for it. But as soon as you have that desire, as soon as you make that declaration, you start selling yourself on all the reasons why it's not going to be possible. You start assuming that it's not going to be possible. You start telling yourself a story about why it's not going to be possible. And everything that you tell yourself, all of the thoughts that you have, they generate emotions. If you start thinking it's probably not going to be possible, it's going to be really hard, I've never done it before, all of those thoughts have an emotional frequency to them. Defeat, frustration, disappointment, okay? And you are going to show up in the world from that state of being. This is why, even though you have written in your schedule to sit down to study, you don't study. And it's because you assume that you're not going to be able to stick to it. You decide ahead of time to fail. You assume that you're not going to get the information. You assume that it's going to be hard. You assume that you're going to get stuck. You assume that you're not going to want to. Right? And all along, you're telling your brain this story, and your reticular activating system is listening. And whatever you're telling it over and over and over again, it's going to believe that it's important. And it's going to look for the evidence and the reason and the story for why we should keep acting like someone who doesn't get A's. Your actions will always match who it is that you believe yourself to be, that self-concept, right? If you assume that the plan isn't going to work, if you assume that you're not going to pass the class, if you assume that you're not going to stick to the schedule, if you assume that it's not going to work, if you assume that you're not going to have enough time, if you assume that you're going to get interrupted, if you assume that you're not going to understand the information, if you assume that your professor is not going to help you, if you assume that this class is going to be really difficult, if you assume that you're probably going to have to withdraw at some point, if all of your energy, all of your focus is going towards the things that you do not want to happen, and you are repeatedly affirming that story to yourself, you will begin to believe it. And the moment that you begin to believe it, you start feeling the emotions that those stories create. And all of a sudden, you're not wanting to study. You're not wanting to show up to office hours. You're not wanting to stick to your schedule because it feels bad to do so. And then if you're not showing up to study, if you're not sticking to your study plan, if you're not going to office hours for help, if you're not doing the things that lead to the grade of an A, the result that you're going to create, your reality is going to mirror back to you, is exactly what you painted in your mind. You end up failing. You end up not getting the grade it is that you want. But you created that. You first imagined that was what's going to happen in your mind. You assumed that to be true. You assumed that was going to happen. And because you assumed it, you started to create emotions that matched that assumption. You felt defeated ahead of time. You felt like a failure ahead of time. You felt disappointed ahead of time. And those types of emotions don't lead to you wanting to go and study and wanting to go and ask for help. They lead to you watching Netflix or working on another class or like doing everything and anything but the thing that is going to get you the grade it is that you want. And thus then you create the very thing that you did not want. And now it serves as even more evidence for your brain to keep perpetuating that story. So then every single time you go and set the goal of wanting to earn straight A's this semester, your brain goes, no, that's not true. That's not going to be possible for you. And then the cycle begins again. Right? There's always two types of expectations. There's the expectation that is favorable to what it is that you want to create, the goals it is that you want to achieve. The expectation of it's going to happen. The expectation of I'm the type of person who creates that. The expectation of like, this is what I'm going to have at the end of this semester. And then there's the expectation of not having it, of not achieving it. Because of the fact that our brain has naturally evolved to focus on the negative, unless we have a lot of evidence of having succeeded in the past, our brain is naturally going to go to all of the reasons why it's probably not going to happen. Your job as a student is to paint a different picture. It is to assume that it will happen. It is to affirm all of the reasons why it will happen, to affirm why you are the type of person who can achieve A's. And all of these assumptions, all of these stories that you tell yourself about how you're a great student and you love learning and that you always ask for help, and that you follow your plan and that you're consistent and that you get yourself back on track and that you are always on top of your schoolwork and that you always end up getting A's and things always work out in your favor, and how good it feels to be on the dean's list and how good it feels to know what you're reading and how good it feels to stick to your schedule and how much you love knowing what is talked about in class and how much you love getting through a chapter and checking that off your to-do list and how much you love showing up to that exam and knowing how to answer every single question and how you love going to office hours and getting your questions answered and how you love going to tutoring tutoring and having all of your confusion cleared up. Those stories, right? These stories of assuming how everything is working out and leading to you being the type of student who earns A's and B's, and thus having an entire report card, or I forget what it's called in college, but an entire grade card that is full of A's, starts with you assuming that that is going to be the case, believing that that is who you are, that that is what you create, that that is what you produce in your life. A lot of the work, my nose is so itchy, excuse me. A lot of the work that I do with college students is really helping them to identify the results that they currently have in their life and what self-concept created that, right? Because there was a certain way that you were thinking about school, that you were thinking about studying, that you were thinking about your time that caused you to show up the way that you showed up this past semester or the semesters before. And the way that you showed up, meaning the actions that you took, the decisions that you made, the things that you chose to do or not do, all of that is what created the result of whatever grade or GPA it is that you had. But those actions stemmed from what you believed to be true about yourself, the primary story that you were telling about yourself. So a lot of the work that I do with students when we begin working together, whether it is one-on-one or inside of my group coaching program, Educated the Art of Becoming a Good Student, is really getting clear on their current self-concept and what that has created in their life. And then what we do is we get crystal clear on who it is that they want to be by the end of the semester. How does that person think about school and about work and about studying and about what is possible for them and what is impossible for them, and what are they focused on, and what emotions are they feeling every single day, and what are the thoughts that they're having playing in their head every single day, and what are the thoughts that they're having about themselves and who they are as a student, right? We get really clear on if you're telling me that you want a 3.9 GPA or that you want to end up on the dean's list this semester, we need to understand the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions that are going to get you there. Because the way you've been thinking before, the way that you've been feeling before, the way that you've been acting before got you this. So we need to become a whole different version of you to create that, right? And the gap, the distance between who you were, right, who you've been, and who you're going to be is the work. That is the work that people talk about. Do the work. The work is first identifying who you need to become. Aligning your thoughts about studying to that version of you. Aligning the actions, the things you do and don't do every single day to that version of you. Aligning your emotions, how you're feeling every single day to that version of you. Assuming that reality in the present, acting as if it already exists, as though you already are the type of student who earns A, because I promise you that if you assume the identity of a student who earns A's consistently, you will start thinking like them. You will start studying like them. You will start asking questions like them. You will start showing up in your life like them. And there is no way that if you're doing all those things that the result is going to be anything different than an A. It all has to align, but it starts with your self-concept. And again, all your self-concept are the thoughts and the beliefs that you have about yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself, how you describe yourself, and also how you imagine other people think of you and see you. Right? This is bothering me. I got it. What's the hair? If you believe that you are a procrastinator, you're never going to set a schedule. You're never going to give yourself mini deadlines because you assume that you're not going to stick to them. And so you don't. You don't do the work to become the person who sticks to things and hands things in on time and doesn't wait until the last minute because you believe in your mind that's not who you are. Now, if you believe that you're someone who hands things in on time, you're going to look at your calendar and see by when you need to hand this in by, and you're going to look at everything else that you have going on this week, and you're going to plan. And you're also going to expect and assume that you follow that plan. And then you do. And so then that becomes true, that you're the type of person who sticks to it. But everything it is that you want first starts as an idea, a thought in your mind. You create it in your mind first, and then you create it in your reality because you align everything else to it. So, if you want to learn how to create your self-concept as the type of student who earns A's consistently, what I have done for you is I've put a list of questions in the comments of this video. If you scroll down, you'll see that list of questions. These questions will help you to identify what your current self-concept is and what thinking that about yourself has created in your reality, the grades that it's produced, the free time that it's produced in your life, the emotions that it's produced in your life throughout the semester. Like everything it is that you have in your life right now came from your current self-concept. Those questions are also going to walk you through who it is that you desire to be, whether it's this week, this semester, next semester, but like who are you becoming? And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that it's someone who earns A's consistently, right? So we're gonna get clear on who that version of you is. What identity does she have? And then I'm going to help you fill the gap. I'm going to help you to create a little bridge from who you are now to who it is that you want to be so that you know exactly what your work is. And honestly, all the work is identifying what you would be thinking if you already had the straight A's. All the work is identifying what you would be feeling if you already had the straight A's. All the work is identifying the actions and the decisions that you would be making on a daily basis if you already had the straight A's. And then assuming that that will happen. Acting as though it's already done. Because if you think that way, if you feel that way, if you act that way, the result will be that you have the thing it is that you want. What determines how long it takes will be determined by how quickly can you create your self-concept, how long can you hold the assumption that it will happen, even when your external circumstances aren't changing, even when you're still showing up to lecture and you're not understanding the information, can you assume that you'll still be able to get the A? Even when you get a 82 on your first quiz, can you assume that you'll still be able to finish the semester with an A? Even when you know, the first month of the semester, the information's not really landing and you're not quite understanding things and you're realizing that you have learning gaps, can you hold the belief and assume that you're the type of person who earns A's? And even though my external reality isn't reflecting that back to me yet, this is who I am. I'm just the type of person who earns A's. So I'm going to keep thinking that. And I'm going to keep feeling what it would feel like to look at that first exam grade and see that 97 staring back at me, and the excitement and how I would be telling everyone I passed the exam and I got a 97, who I would be texting, who I would be calling, what I would be feeling, what I would be doing next. Doing the actions every day, making the decisions every day that would help you to earn that A. and assuming that it's going to happen. Even when your external circumstances don't reflect it yet. If you can stay in that energy for a long period of time, if you can redirect your brain to your favorable expectation when it wants to dip into the unfavorable expectation, the quicker you can move back into the favorable expectation, the quicker you will have what it is that you want. Y'all, this is the work. Because every study skill out there that you've learned about, it works as long as you work it. I tell students that all the time. There's no secret study routine. What's going to determine whether it works is whether or not you can get yourself to stick with it long enough to get exactly what it is that you want. And that is exactly what I do with college students as an academic life coach. I teach them how to create a study routine, how to create a study schedule, and how to stick to it all semester long until they get exactly what it is that they